All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone out there, entrepreneurs, small business owners, hustlers, people that are grinding. You are tuned in to Fill in the Blank on the Non-Corporate Network. Dustin, you want to tell them about what Fill in the Blank is?
Fill in the blank, pretty simple. The business version of First Take. We got 6 different topics. Chaz and I will debate them on whether they're good, bad, give our views in the span of 3 minutes. And it's the most relevant news or the biggest headlines that are in business news, and 2 people that aren't, going gray, doing a little bit of balding, a little bit, getting older, but it's not your typical CNBC, Fox
Right.
Business News type of news. It's business news for the modern day consumption.
Yeah, I know. And this is the Non-Corporate Network. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are somebody that is out there making moves, then that is, you're in the right place. Yeah, so I'm excited. We got some pretty exciting stories to talk about today. But yeah, do we have anything else we want to say before we dive into it?
Nope. I think
Sweet.
we just dive right in.
Hey, yeah, that's how we do it. Let's just jump into it. First story: Facebook just acquired GIPHY for $400 million. This was earlier this week, reported by The Verge, and this is crazy. I mean, Facebook is kind of throwing around $400 million like it's $20. They've obviously acquired quite a few businesses. If you guys aren't familiar, Facebook already owns Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, just to name a few. And so, what do you think about that? Oh, WhatsApp is another one. What do you think about this acquisition, Dustin?
I mean, it's they're a social media company that's all forms of communication, and this is just another step to bringing in another form of communication into their umbrella. I know I never used to use them, but I noticed myself using them a bit more frequently. I mean, there's just so much more you can communicate in a more entertaining way rather than just typing text. And I think that 80% of GIPHY's traffic comes from Facebook. So, I mean, I think it's a move that makes sense. I mean, I mentioned recently that they might be trying to go too far out of their lane, but like I said, it's another form of communication, and that's all they're trying to do is just own all the digital communication that happens on social media and across the website. I mean, are you for or against this acquisition?
Bust them up. Bust them up. Get out the trust busters. This is the Sherman Antitrust Act in 1980 broke up Standard Oil, broke up AT&T. How is Facebook any different? I mean, I'm all for capitalism. I'm all for these social media companies and what they're doing for commerce and for business. But, we've gone a step too far here. I think 80% of world social media revenue is owned by Facebook. And I think that, as I mentioned, these family of apps that they've got, it's only going to continue to grow. They've really strategically set themselves up to continue to grow, like with things like Oculus and VR and AR that are poised to grow. And so, it's not going to they're not going to have any less market share. Like, it's only going to grow bigger and bigger. So, I think we forget that Mark Zuckerberg owns 30% of this entire entity of pretty much a giant soup of everyone's data, like 3 billion people's data. And so, I think, one man's got too much power. This is something that, we got to address. So I've got to say, bust them up. Let's have a little bit more competition in the social media space.
I mean, they got shareholders they gotta speak to. So you're either growing or you're not, and shareholders don't like when companies are not growing. So keep doing
shareholders like when you break the law, apparently, because they've broken the law. I mean, this is why are you making laws? This antitrust policy has not been enforced in 40 years or 50 years. Like, it's gone too far, I think.
Yep. Only time will tell. Let's see what the federal government can do.
That's Dustin's transition. Okay, next story here. Bing ads generate $7 billion a year. Just Bing ads, not even Microsoft's entire ad network. That's 3 times the amount of ad revenue that Twitter generates, making Bing the fourth largest U.S. online advertising entity. What are your thoughts about this? I think this number is going to surprise a lot of people. It surprised me.
Yeah, I know it definitely surprises quite a bit of people. I mean, it's surprising to me as well. I mean, hear it all the time. Well, my audience isn't on Bing, so why would I pay there? But I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of companies. There's maybe an older demographic that when they buy a non-Apple computer, that the default browser is Bing, and they use it. And so, I mean, there's a lot more consumption than people realize, and I think it's undervalued. The cost per clicks, the cost to reach people is much more expensive on Google, especially on the B2B side of things. Microsoft owns LinkedIn, and so you could target a particular keyword and then bring in LinkedIn data, so you could target only particular companies, job titles, whatever it may be. So I think it's far more valuable and strategic than most people see it as. But I mean,
Yeah.
what surprises you about the numbers?
I mean, I think that we've always kind of heard that Bing traffic equates to maybe, I don't know, 10 to 15% of total web traffic, which at first glance is not really meaningful. But then you start to realize how much web traffic there really is, how many people have access to it. 5.6 billion people out of 7.7 billion people on the planet have access to the internet. And so, this is something that is accessible. Obviously, Microsoft's a worldwide company, and so they have penetration outside of just the US. I look at this, but I think it's one more channel of advertising. And oftentimes when marketers mess up, or when businesses mess up, is that they try to spread their spend across so many different channels, run so many different simultaneous tests, that they don't end up getting the data that they need, or the insights that they need to be able to adjust their campaigns. So I think that just tossing Bing into your strategy without really putting an emphasis on it and spending time to understand what the actual CPMs really look like and what's a good deal and what isn't, I think those are things that need to be considered before going, oh, $7 billion, cool, let me throw my budget at it. So that's my personal opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like everything else. I mean, to your point, it's another channel. It takes time, it's bandwidth, and I think the trouble that most people face is they have 80% of their eggs in the Google basket, and then try and allocate another 50% over to Bing, and now you're over the 100% threshold. So I think it's a matter of, you only have 100% of your time. It's how can you diversify that into different channels, and how can you grow to it? I mean, if you're going to want to continue to grow, you're going to have to figure it out. At the end of the day, there are people on Bing, there are people searching for your product or service, so it's a matter of figuring out how to grow into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an intent-based kind of thing, so it's not going to be a waste. You're paying for people that have searched exactly what you want to show up for. So I don't think it's ever going to be a bad strategy. But yeah, no, I think interesting stuff there. Moving on, squad shopping. I don't know if anybody's heard of this trend. It sounds terrible to me, but to a lot of women specifically, this is natural. Squad shopping, essentially, people are getting on Zoom calls and doing e-commerce like shopping sprees together, where they're sharing each other's screens and influencing the sales of their friends and what they're buying, and sharing these different, oh, I found a sale on this website, or I found a sale on that website. And so it's definitely helping to increase commerce as it relates to the digital side of things. What are your thoughts in terms of squad shopping and this trend, and how it can kind of affect, the state of retail currently? Because it seems like it's already caught on in China, and we're kind of the next place to be doing it.
Yeah, I've seen headlines come from China on something like this, but I think it's a retailer's dream. I mean, if you could get other people surrounded with each other, I mean, you always hear it, oh yeah, that looks great, just go ahead and buy it. I mean, how many husbands, boyfriends are like, no, don't go shopping with them, you always come back with way too much. So I think that there's something to be said here, where if a retailer can figure out how to incentivize bigger groups, they're just going to see more revenue coming in. And I mean, we've already discussed it quite a bit. There's a growing trend on e-commerce and online shopping. I mean, you have less overhead, you don't have rent space and all of that. So I think it could be something that's huge. And I think where there's a lot of white space is figuring out how to bring bigger groups together. I mean, at the other side of it, I mean, you could have virtual shopping assistants that kind of help someone shop as well if they don't have friends or family. But anyone that can bounce any other ideas on, I don't think that looks good, but we have this. Oh, wow, I didn't even see that. I mean, I think it's a way that you can increase average order values. You can keep people coming back because it's some type of experience. And so I think in the way that we're trending in terms of online shopping, I think don't look at it as a fad. Figure out how to attack it. And I think there'll be a lot of success seen there.
You know, the history rewards the bold, and I am waiting for the business in retail to come out and say, we're closing all the stores and we're just going e-commerce. That's it. I think we've seen it with like Volkswagen came out and was like, we're not going to make another gas-powered car after the year 2020. And it was a domino effect of all these other car manufacturers going, oh yeah, we're going to fall in line behind them. But I think that when it comes to this retail game, there's some no man's land between what it looks like to go into a shop or a store and actually buy and be able to try it on, feel it, and the experience of online shopping where it's a two-dimensional kind of, I see the picture and hopefully it fits, hopefully it's the right kind of material, but history rewards the bold. I'm challenging any retailer out there who is going to close their stores, go all in on online and pour money into it. I think that company is going to be rewarded with PR. They're going to be rewarded with e-commerce sales, and they're going to stick around for a long time.
Couldn't agree more. And that's it's almost like you kind of know what the agenda is in terms of topics, because that kind of leads us to our next topic with JCPenney's. They went to court for bankruptcy.
Gosh.
What is it? $4.9 billion worth of debt. They basically have a 2-month plan on how they're going to reverse this trend. Otherwise, they need to close up shop. So, I mean, could this virtual shopping, creating virtual shopping groups, maybe be the answer to getting them out of debt and a thing again? On the other side, I mean, they're over 100, 110 years old, 115 years old. If they don't figure out how to change, is this going to be a domino effect in big box retailers that they're going to be dissolved?
Yeah, well, in the store within a store too, it's like not only a JCPenney going out, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but there's stores within there. You've got all these different makeup vendors that drive most of their revenue. You've got like Sephora and companies that are signing deals to be inside of the stores. And so you're putting more than just JCPenney out of business here. But I would be willing to venture and say that if the government had to decide between who they're going to bail out, Boeing or JCPenney, my money's on Boeing. My money is not on like the discount retailer. So as much as my mom is probably so disappointed in what's happening with JCPenney, I think we're going to see a lot more of JCPenney clothing on the racks and Marshalls and TJ Maxx. And I mean, I know you mentioned, tell them about the retail, or tell them about the commercial real estate side of the equation.
Yeah, I mean, I saw recently that they're looking at doing REITs, so doing real estate investment. I mean, they have a ton of locations, a lot of commercial real estate, but I mean, as we've mentioned on previous episodes, is the commercial real estate industry, going to be a downfall with, working remote increasing? So it's like, are they going to go from one burning building jumping to another burning building? Or are they going to figure out?
It's slightly less there's less flames. There's one hose putting that fire out. No, I think it's going to be tricky, and $4.9 billion of debt that's a lot of $10 graphic tees that they got to sell to get them back. So I think that, I would say be more bullish on the e-commerce side, but I don't really think they're in a position to be spending money in much of anywhere. So, I think all that they can hope for is maybe an acquisition, although they're pretty much the big companies. So I don't know who would want to be acquiring them with the backwards financials they're dealing with right now.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's so much conversation going on at the executive level. I mean, something like this, it's a huge iconic brand. I mean, how many Christmas catalogs have you
Yep.
read through? You know, whenever you were a kid, I love getting those, just looking through them. But I mean, you know, those might come to an end. But it's this is where true innovation comes in, and this would be a
Right.
true test for the executive or the C-suite level people there.
Well,
And
I think this is a very big entrepreneurial lesson for all of us that are listening and following this story is when you're the department store and you're trying to sell everything to everyone, then your customer base is not going to reward you by being loyal, especially when it's a low cost good. So, you know, focus on niches, focus on winning in specific categories and with specific demographics, because, yeah, when you sell to everyone, then no one feels very attached to your brand. And that's why you see the bottom falling out of a company like JCPenney.
yep, there's riches in the niches. So we'll see if they
Amen
can
to
innovate
that.
and figure it out. On to our next topic, DraftKings. So they saw about a 30% increase in net revenue come in as they saw a huge decrease in sports betting. But where this increase comes from is esports. I think it's a huge growing trend. I mean, I think it's blowing up, and I really think that one day, you know, there's going to be a bigger fan base of esports than basketball, football, baseball, all
Right.
the traditional sports. It hurts me to say that, but I think that that's probably how it's going to trend. I mean, I see a
Yeah.
lot of friends, kids, and, you know, family and all that, where younger kids are just more into YouTube, their iPad,
Right.
than getting on the soccer field.
It's crazy. Mom, why didn't you let me play more video games growing up? Oh my gosh. Come on. You know, it's a growing industry and there's no doubt about it. And I mean, watching DraftKings stock rise 42% while this is all going on when sports are their main source of income and all sports are pretty much done. I think it's crazy. I mean, the other cool thing, I'm a big UFC watcher and, you know, I'm watching the prelims for not even a headlining card, and they got 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 people watching these fights, where otherwise there would not be much of anybody watching the fights. And so I think that it's absolutely insane to see the rise of attention just because people are fishing for something. So I'd venture to say if you're an athlete or you have a personal brand or something like that, like there are ways for you to still be being competitive, whether it's via esports. We've seen a lot of basketball players there. I mean, you could be flipping a coin and heads or tails and it'd be entertaining right now. So get innovative. If you're out there and you have a personal brand, people want to spend money and they want to be entertained. And so in this story specifically, we're seeing that the numbers are rising for betting.
So, I mean, do you think that with sports being down and more people watching other things, are people going to realize that, hey, there's a lot more out there than having to tune into football once a week? I mean, with esports, you could essentially stream that 24/7, so you can get a lot more, you know, you can watch a lot more than you can with traditional sports. There's only so many hours in the day that you can play
Yeah.
baseball or football or whatever it may be. But with esports, I mean, you could essentially do it all day and night.
I mean, riches are in the niches, right? That's it. That's the whole thing. If I mean, you know, I love football because I played football, and so it's like I have that connection to it. A lot of these kids growing up now have either like they are drawn more towards the video games that they play. You want to watch something that you play. I know you're a big baseball guy, and so it's more fun for you to go to a baseball game than someone that doesn't play baseball. And so that's kind of what we're seeing is that people want to follow what they're familiar with and what they care about. And that's becoming a much wider berth now, I think, in terms of the accessibility to these other layers of entertainment that are out there.
Yep. And it's easier to give a kid an iPad to play a game rather than put on a glove and go play catch. And so I think it's only inevitable that that attention is just going to
Hey,
grow, and we're going to see the downfall in sports.
we're here in Arizona and Scottsdale. It's nice, man. I'll throw a baseball. I'll throw a football. You know, it's I'm happy to not be farther north or something like that.
Exactly. So on to our final topic. So airline travel, it's up 63% month over month in May compared to April, but it is still down 93% year over year. So I mean, things are trending in the positive direction, but still very, very far from where things used to be.
Right.
I mean, I'm seeing so many ads around cheap travel. I mean, I saw an ad that can fly from Phoenix to Colorado round trip for like $40. Granted, it's Frontier. They'll charge you
Yeah.
$300 to take your luggage, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think that the comeback in airline travel is going to come back quickly, or do you think it's going to take
Stop
a while?
branding it that way. Stop it. Marketers, CMOs, stop branding it that way. If you're branding it as like, hey, this is dirt cheap to fly, then that makes people think that they're just automatically going to get sick and that the risk is so high that these numbers have to be $20 to fly across the country. It's like you're not taking that big of a risk. I would say that, stop focusing on how cheap it is. I mean, it can be a more competitive price than it was before everything started happening, but it's just like if I put a $10 price tag on Ralph Lauren, it loses the allure of being a luxury product, right? It's like people are expecting to pay a certain amount for something, and they think that something is wrong if it's that low. And so I would say if you're a CMO, like start branding it as like, look what we're doing to clean the airplanes. Like we're changing all the cabin air filters every time we fly. We're pressure washing the seats every time that we fly, and we're spreading out the flights so we have more time to clean the planes. Like traditionally I'm in row 45, and by the time that I'm off the plane, they're already to row 30 cleaning it. It's like you spent 10 seconds on each row. What are you doing? So like I don't have a lot of faith right now that they're cleaning the planes properly.
Usually I completely disagree with you, but on this one, I love where you're at. I mean, at the end of the day,
Boom.
people are worried about their finances, but they're more worried about their health. So it really goes to, as a business, you should really be speaking to your audience's pain points. And sure, the financial aspect is one side, but the health side, people are more concerned about that. So to your point, seeing a lot more ads about how cheap it is to fly. So all you're telling me is, cool, it's going to cost me $40 to get coronavirus. That's sweet. Show me how I'm
Yeah.
not going to get it. And then you could actually probably increase the prices and help your margins out of it more.
Or remind people of the fact that their parents or grandparents are across the country and they need to go see them, and they haven't seen them, and they just they did lose out on all of their plans for the year already. It's like, let's get some marketing dollars behind things like that, like as opposed to, hey, this is just dirt cheap right now. That's not gonna, like, you can hit somebody's pain point, kick them in the gut with like, hey, you didn't get to go to that wedding in Florida, or hey, like we just pressure washed the plane and sanitized it, like, and we're showing you what we're doing. Like those are things that are going to get me off of my butt to go travel again for sure.
Yep. Be smart with the marketing and how you're communicating. It's really having empathy for your audience and figuring out what it's going to take to get them to say, yeah, I want to go. I trust you. I trust I'm going to have a good experience. I trust that I'm not going to get sick. That's what's going to get more tickets sold.
Well said, man. Well said. And thank you guys for being here. And thank you to Avantage for sponsoring the episode today. You guys are awesome. Avantage.com. You've heard us talk a little bit about it, but if you're a small business, you're an entrepreneur, you have excess capacity, there's things that you could be filling your time with. Use it as a trade of services. I know we're not sitting on piles of cash right now. Avantage is a way for you to trade your business and services for credit that you can use to purchase other businesses and services. And there's over 1,000 different businesses on Avantage just in the Phoenix area. It's a great place to go, especially around this time. Dustin, do you have anything you want to add to that?
You got extra time. Be smart. Use it. Trade with other people that have extra time. It's just the right thing to do. Avantage.
And thank you for watching Fill in the Blank. You've been tuned into the Non-Corporate Network. My name's Chaz Vandemotter.
Dustin Trout.
And we will be back on Friday with some more crazy stories for you guys. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Reach out if you got questions, if you have things you want us to talk about, if you come across a crazy story and you want to hear our take on it, send it in. You can find us across the web. Dustin, can you rattle off a few like URLs and places where they can interact with us?
I mean, you can see all the shows that are going to be upcoming. ncnbroadcast.com. Should know this, but what are our handles? Maybe we should throw that up on post production.
Yeah. non-corporate network, fill in the blank. We'll start putting them on here. But thank you guys for watching. And yeah, we'll be back soon. And have a great rest of your Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week. And that's about all I got.
Yeah. See you Friday, guys.